welcome all for today's webinar. I think we had a basic round of introduction about KAGR, FintEdu, and myself as well. So let's move on to the topics. Now, what's going to be the agenda for today's webinar? So you might have gone through the description, but I would just like to summarize a bit on that. So let's understand a bit about history of Excel and the way we work in corporate setup and what are the changes which are happening, in today's our day-to-day life. So Excel was introduced in 1985. And before that we had spreadsheets. So the concept of spreadsheets, it came in 1982 and Excel was introduced in 1985. And today we are standing in, let's say, 2024. So it's been around 35 years of history where we are working with computers and where we are working with spreadsheets. So spreadsheets, it's not a right word, like in India, we call mineral water as Bisleri, or we call it Google it, or we say Xerox it, but the correct words are get a photocopy or see the search engine. So spreadsheet is the correct word. There are other spreadsheet softwares as well, like Google Sheets is there, Zoho Sheets is there, but Microsoft Excel is one of the powerful spreadsheet tool. So today we are going to talk about a bit about history of Excel and what are the new changes which have happened in the Excel universe in the last couple of years. So as I told you, I'll just just insert a new sheet. So as I told you that Excel was introduced in 1985. And since then, we are using this particular software. Now, over the last course of 4 years, very dramatic and very radical changes have happened in the Excel universe. So I'll just list down the gamut of Excel universe, right? Which are the topics? Which are the topics which we should be aware of? Like, let's say we say that I want to learn advanced Excel, or I want to be an Excel expert, or I want to improve my Excel skills. So what are the topics which we should be aware of, and what's the entire gamut of Excel universe? So I'll just list them down. So when it comes about Excel universe, so the one recent change which has happened is the introduction of Power Query, right? So Power Query is there in Excel since 2016. So Power Query is one change which is there in Excel since 2016, but in the recent version, that Office 365, there have been a lot of features which are added in Power Query. So we should be aware and we should learn about Power Query. Second feature, which is quite popular, but it's slightly getting outdated, is something called as VBA macros. Right? So VBA macros were there in Excel since 1990s. Now slowly VBA macros are getting outdated and it is getting replaced by something called as Office scripts. But still VBA macros are very much relevant. Like if you ask me that, Chinmay, I have a client project and I want to deliver it on let's say 15th of May, then it's very rare that Office script, someone will give an Office script solution. So it's still in testing process. VBA is it's tested over time, and a lot of data is available regarding VBA. A lot of ready-made codes, ready-made add-ins are available in VBA. So that is the second Excel second dimension or second subtopic which we should be aware of while working in Excel. Third and the most interesting topic which I specialize in, and I build a lot of financial models based on this particular topic, it's something called as dynamic arrays. And there are a few new functions in Excel which are called as a filter function, Lambda function, and the let function. So dynamic arrays was introduced in Excel somewhere around 2020. So in the last 4 years, substantial development has happened concept of arrays. Now, see, earlier when we talk about Excel, it was we used to talk about cells, but now we are going to talk about arrays. What do I mean by this particular topic? I'll soon let you know, when we do the particular case studies and the demonstrations. And the fourth and the old topics, which these are some topics which we already know and we are aware of, which I called is that, advanced Excel formulas. Now, what do I classify in advanced Excel formulas? So it's more the formulas like sum product, index and match, offset. So these are advanced Excel formulas which you should be aware of and which are still used today. And fifth topic is basics of Excel, where we cover lookups and pivot tables, etc. And one more dimension which is now popular, just maybe 6 months old or 7 months old, is AI in Excel. So AI in Excel. So these are the 5, 6 topics. So I would request everyone to, quickly take a screenshot or just note it down. So these are some topics which you should be aware of. Like these are the, different dimensions. This is a gamut of Excel universe. Like Excel today comprises of all these particular things. So even if we don't know any one particular topic of it, then we should not say that, we are well versed with Excel. And whenever we are learning anything, or whenever you are taking any coaching for any particular, Excel training or spreadsheet training, so ensure that these topics are especially covered in this particular uh, Excel course. So these are some of the basic Excel universe which I have demonstrated to you. Now let's understand one by one topic. So today's training, it's not going to be a hands-on training. Hands-on training means that I do something, then I share the file with you, you do it on your own systems, then you execute, you share the feedback. That is a typical hands-on training. But today, understand that it's a limited 1 hour webinar. So I'm just going to demonstrate different topics for different topics and ideas to you. And in case you feel that you want to learn these topics and you want to develop yourself skill sets in this particular topics, then we have some exciting announcements for you. So stay tuned till the end of webinar to understand this particular topics. Now let's understand with the first topic which I want to start, which is the concept of dynamic arrays in Excel. Right. So whenever we work on Excel, one very popular theme or one very popular topic which used to be there and it's still very much relevant is the concept of dollar signs in Excel. Right. The concept of dollar sign, correct, which is also called as absolute cell referencing or a relative cell referencing. Right. So in this particular topic, let me throw a challenge to everyone in the chat box. So try to use your analytical skills, try to use your Excel knowledge, and let me know how would you solve this particular problem statement. And then I would show you how we can solve this with the help of latest functionalities in Excel, which is called as the concept of dynamic arrays to solve this particular problem. So let me just show you the problem statement first. So let's say I'm building a computer. So these are different parts I have: processor, motherboard, GPU, RAM. These are the prices in dollars. And these are the currency exchange rates which are available. So the idea and the problem statement is simple, that I want to convert the data set to the respective currencies. Right. So if let's say I have something in $20, so I would multiply it with INR USD rate. So it becomes 1600 in INR. Then I have something in GBP. So I would multiply this 20 into this 4 currency conversion rate. And then I would multiply this $20 with this particular 2.5. Correct. So now this is the problem statement. I want to do this for the entire block. So either one way is I do it manually for all the, all the 24 cells one by one. That is one solution which I am doing right on the screen. Or there can be another way where I can write just one formula and I can copy paste it across. So I would like to wait for a couple of maybe a minute or so and try to understand from the audience if anyone has any particular solution to this particular problem. Like how would you solve that particular problem? So I mean, just to define the problem statement, give me a particular formula in cell D21. So we are standing in cell D21 and this is the formula which I have written. So just try to think visually, just try to think what would be the most appropriate formula in this particular case, which I can use to solve this particular problem statement. So let me see the chat box. We have got one answer from Shubham and Delvin from the chat box. Not very happy with the the solution which has been presented because it's not a very ideal solution. I'm just waiting for a couple of more people. These 3 currency sell rates. Okay. So see, one of the things which I'm going to talk about is when you have to automate particular things, you have to understand that you have to do minimum intervention, right? And you have to keep problem statement as simple as possible. Now, one of the answers which I'm getting is, Chinmay, why don't you freeze the cell I20, right? So I freeze the cell I20 and I copy paste it across. Now this answer is correct, right? But what if for G20, right? Then again, I copy paste this formula here, or I write a new formula, which is this into this particular cell, and I phrase G20, and then I again copy paste it down. Now, this is not a very ideal way to work in Excel. Whenever you're working in Excel, you should minimum intervention should be there and minimum formula should be written, right? Minimum unique formula should be written. So the ideal formula to solve this particular problem statement is I multiply this cell with this particular cell. And now I will add my dollar signs very strategically. I will add my dollar signs before like letter C. Why before C? Because if I just multiply this formula as is, see now what is happening, it is taking the previous cell and it is again taking the previous cell. I don't want this to happen. I want to lock C. So I'm adding a dollar sign before C. Correct. Now this formula seems to be working fine for the first row. But what happens is that immediately it gets multiplied by row 21 where the values are 0. So what I would do is I would freeze the dollar cell 20. And then I would write this formula. And this is the ideal formula. This is the solution which I was expecting from you guys in the chat box, which is $C21 into $20. This is the most ideal and this is the most correct solution to solve this particular problem statement. Correct. So far, so good. Like everything is clear. If something is not clear, then please, please mention that in the chat box. Now, see, this again is an old school way of approaching this particular problem, which is with the help of using the concept of dollar signs. Now, there has been a systematic change in the way Excel works. The computation engine of Excel has changed. So few things have changed in the Excel universe. So if I have to solve this particular problem statement using modern Excel or using the concept of dynamic arrays, which I was talking about, then what I would simply do is I would simply press is equal to, I would simply press a single array. So C21 into C28, this is one single array multiplied by this second array, which is I20 to K20. So array 1 into array 2. I'm going to do this. So array 1 into array 2, and then I'll press enter. And can you see a thin blue line outside my box? Like this thin blue line, which is there outside my array, on my Excel. This is nothing but called as dynamic arrays. So this is nothing but called as dynamic arrays. So this is the new way, this is the new way the Excel works. So array 1 into array 2, and I get my output, which is kind of a matrix, right? So this is how you can solve this problem with the help of computation of dynamic arrays. Now, one thing which we should be keeping in mind is that this works only on Office 365 versions. So if you are using Office 365, which is the latest version of Office, and I urge everyone to use the latest tools, right? I always keep on telling, if I have to fly to Dubai today, I won't come in a bullock cart. I would travel by an aeroplane, right? So we need to have the tools which are the most updated, which are recent, and we should be using the most latest tools. So Office 365 is a complete solution, right? You get Outlook, you get Teams, a lot of other softwares are also available in the Office 365 package. And of course, you get the latest versions of Word, etc. So Office 365 is the requirement for this particular feature. And this feature is called as the concept of dynamic arrays. You multiply array 1 by array 2. Now, if someone is keen, Chinmay, how this this particular system works, right? So I'll just show you something which you might have learned in your school days. You just allow me to share my screen and let me just show you something on my browser. So just give me a moment and then we will understand how this concept of dynamic arrays actually works. I'm just sharing my browser with you all, and I'm just going to. So I hope you all remember, this something which we have done in our school days, which is called as matrix multiplication, right? So this is dot product matrix multiplication, which we have learned in the school days. So the concept of dynamic arrays is based on this dot product method like, this matrix multiplication, how the engine of the Excel is working. Like if you want to know behind the scenes, then if you understand matrices, then you would understand how dynamic arrays work better. It's not required. Like if you are a nerd and if you enjoy like, learning behind the screens, or like, the source of technology or tool, then you can read more about matrix multiplication, which we did it in our 11th and 12th grade. So that's the concept of dynamic arrays, and that's the basis of dynamic arrays, which is matrix multiplication. So just wanted to understand, like, maybe on a scale of 1 to 5, you can give me a rating, like how did you feel, like, was the concept of dynamic arrays? Did you feel it was interesting, or you feel that, it's something very difficult, not helpful? If you feel that it's something interesting, something helpful, something which is making your life easy, then, you can give me a rating on a scale of 1 to 5, like 5 on the higher end. If you feel it was boring, your Saturday is getting wasted, it is something which is not relevant for you, then maybe you can rate me on a scale of 1 to 2. Rating is important because that's how I understand, like, what's going on in your mind. Although I'm studying body language these days, but in a virtual training, it's literally impossible to know, like, what my audiences are thinking. So just those ratings would help me understand what's going on in your mind. And be honest. Great. Great. So it's good to know that you guys are enjoying and you guys are uh, finding it helpful. Now let's understand something where we can understand how we can use an automatic analysis. Right now, this particular slide which I'm going to present, or this particular case study which I'm going to present, is for lazy people, right? So people who don't want to take a lot of efforts, and they are like, and even I have a lot of, like, my close friends, even some of my like they, always call me Chinmay, we have an Excel doubt. And then I go in the trainer mode, right? Write this formula, do this way. And they say, Chinmay, like, you are an Excel trainer, like, we are not interested in Excel. I just want my output. You just give me the solution. I don't care about the process. Like, this is the typical style which they talk in. So, I mean, and it's a very valid point, right? Not everyone is going to be passionate about everything. So in case you want to use technology, like let's say we use WhatsApp, right? Now, who understands the source code of WhatsApp? Like we don't understand, right? We use Windows. We don't understand how Windows work. We fly in aeroplanes. We don't understand, like, how aeroplane works, like what's the physics behind it, like, we fly high in the sky. We don't know, like, how it works exactly, but still we use that technology. So the second feature which I'm going to demonstrate is more towards, like, giving you ready-made answers. So let me just go towards this particular data set which I have created. Well, so again, this is a fictional data set. So I have names of few employees. I have their designation, right? So I have designation from associate, partner, manager, typical corporate designations. Then I have their departments, and then I have their salaries, right? So this is the data set which is available to me. Just note that I have organized the data set in a good proper format. So, like, there are no blank rows in between, no empty cells in between. So the more you structure and standardize your data set, the better it is. Correct. So just select the data set. Now, like, let me just, I just want you to tell me, like, what are the insights which you can derive out of this data set? Like, let's say you are in the HR department, or like, let's say you are a consultant and your job is to analyze the payroll and submit a report to the management. Or even, let's say you're the owner of the company and this data has been presented to you by the HR. So what are the typical questions you would like to understand from this particular data set? What are the answers which you would like to, find the data sets? Or maybe you're an employee in an industry and you want to understand, what's happening in the industry. So tell me, what would be the interesting questions which, you would be wanting to know from this particular data set? You want to analyze this data sets. So that is the first step toward, becoming a good analyst. See, Excel comes second. The first step is to, ask the right questions, right? So what are the right questions which should ask the data set, and how we generate insights from that data set? That is the first question. And frankly, that is not something which a technology can do for you. That is something which you should have an intuition. You should know about the, what's happening on the ground level. You should have some sort of education, some sort of certifications. You should have some sort of guidance from your seniors, to have the ability to ask the right questions, have the ability to generate the right insights. So let me just select this particular data. And now this is an AI-based feature within Excel, right? So you did not do anything extra. You just need an Office 365 subscription. Just select the data set, go to the Home tab and click on Analyze. So I will repeat again. Step one, which I am doing is I am just selecting the data set, Home tab, and I'm going to Analyze, right? No need of making any pivot table, no need of doing anything, right? And see the beauty, Excel has already analyzed the data set for you. Correct. So Excel has already analyzed the data for you. So let me just say that, salary by band, correct? So let's do one thing. So we are interested to know, like, what is an average salary of an intern. So I've just clicked on analyze data, and I just want to know what is the average salary of an intern. Now I don't know SUMIFs, I don't know COUNTIFs, I don't know pivot tables, and I'm least interested in learning all these things, right? So kind of an analysis, correct? So now let's ask that question: is what is the average salary of intern? And see, Excel is giving us an answer. Excel is saying that the average salary of an intern is 4,315 rupees. Now, we should not trust anyone blindly, correct? I mean, we should all have trust issues with the data set. Don't get me wrong. So let's see if Excel is giving us the right answer or not. So let me just filter here the designation intern. And we have three salaries here, right? What are the three salaries? 2,000 plus, so roughly 12,000. So if I take a sum of these, then it comes down to 12,947. And if I take an average of this, so what I'll do is this plus this plus this. And then let's divide it by 3 because there are 3 interviews. This is the answers. So Home tab and data set, and I did not do any pivots. I did not do any SUMIFs. I did not do any COUNTIFs. And I'm just getting the answers like, of my choice easily, right? So like, let's say total, like, total salary of HR. So see, the total salary of HR is 27 lakh 80,000. So like, let's say if you're owner of the company and you want to know your HR, like, how much I'm spending on HR. Like, it's a cost center. I want to know what's the total spend. So you get the answer there. 27 lakh 80,000 is the total amount of money which we are spending on each AI-based software, AI-based tool already available in the Excel universe. You just need to download Office 365 and you can start analyzing on a daily basis. Correct. Now, if you like, let's say you can't tell your boss that, the data, I don't need you. So if you just click on analyze the data, then it gives you an option to insert pivot table and insert charts, right? So what you can say, this charts looks important. So let me just say insert pivot chart. And see, your chart is ready and your pivot table is also ready. So you are getting average salary of each band, and then you can copy paste this particular report into your data set, right? So you can get data labels as well. And see, this is a ready-made chart. This into some, but so this is something new. This is something very helpful, something very handy, something my own systems. Raghav, Sarthak, Joseph, thanks a lot for giving Madhuri 5 ratings. Sometimes it feels like an Uber driver, but it's important to get good ratings. Is our first, we have covered our few topics. Now let's understand how we can do things with the help of some AI-based add-ins. Correct. So and before that, I would briefly tell you about what's the concept of VBA in Excel as well. Correct. So let's talk a bit about VBAs and macros, and then I would talk about some AI-based add-ins. So let me just come to this particular sheet. Right. So now let's understand what is VBA macros, and then we would understand like how you can install few add-ins into Excel. So see, VBA is a language, and macro is output of that language. Correct. So like, let's say I want to write a speech, right? Elections are happening in India. So let's say we are a politician and we want to write a speech. Now, in which language do I decide to give that speech? Should I give that speech in Tamil? Should I give that speech in English? Should I give that speech in Hindi? Should I give that speech in my mother tongue, which is Marathi? So that becomes a language, right? So VBA is also a language. You can, I mean, this is a metaphor. There are a few languages. So similarly, VBA is also a language. And then what is the output of that language? See, like there is no point in learning ABCD, right? There is no point in learning grammar. The whole context or the whole idea of learning English is that you give an output, right? Like let's say you want to give a speech, then you require English. You want to write a resignation letter, you require English. You want to write a newspaper article, you require English. You want to take a session, you require English. So the outputs, speech, English language. So macro is right. So VBA is a language. To learn any language, we took 8 years to learn English in our school days. To learn VBA, it will take you around 1.5 years to learn properly VBA. Like, assume you spend 1-2 hours daily. So it's a long journey of 6 months to 12 months. And the output is the output of the VBA language, which is the macros. Now, like, let's say I have to write a letter to my friend in Russia, right? Now, I don't know, Russian language. Like, let's say I want to write a letter to the president of Russia. And the president of Russia, he doesn't understand English. So I am in a problem now. I want to write a letter, but I cannot write a letter. So what I would do in such situations is that I would use Google Translate. So I would write in English, the translator would translate it into Russian, and then I'll send a Russian letter to the Russian president, right? So similarly, as I give you an example, we don't understand WhatsApp, but we still use WhatsApp, right? Because it's backend, all the engineering, all the algorithms are happening in the backend. So similarly, what happens in VBA environment and macro environment is that we did not understand VBA macros fully, but we can use something which is called as a concept of add-ins. Correct? Now, what is add-ins? Like, let's say, just tell me, what are the different apps do you use on your mobile phone? So this is like OnePlus phone, which I bought. Correct? So when I bought it from the factory, it had some limited apps given by the company. But when I went to the Play Store, I installed a few apps, right? So I use an app called as WhatsApp, right? I use an app called as Instagram. I use an app called as Sky Scanner, right? I use an app called as Money Control, right? So these are the different apps. I use an app called as Book My Show, right? So these are the different apps which I have downloaded in my phone, which were not there in my existing phone, right? This is something which I have done from the Play Store. So similarly, the whole idea behind this talk was that there are different add-ins which you can install within the Excel universe, right? So most of the add-ins are to work them in Excel, you require either a Office script background or a VBA background to make the add-ins work in Excel. And of course, like whatever the add-ins do, what is adding doing on itself, it can be something completely different. So let me just tell you something, the concept of add-ins. So if you click on add-ins here, you can install different add-ins. So let me just click on more add-ins. So this is a Play Store. So the way we have Play Store in our phone, similarly, Play Store is available in the Excel universe. This is a Microsoft Play Store, right? So you can choose whatever the add-ins which, let's say you are interested in knowing stock data. So you can Google, let's say you're interested in doing some mathematical function. So there are hundreds and thousands of add-ins which are available in the Excel universe. So one add-in which I'm going to demonstrate for you is a Chat GPT for Excel. So let me search GPT. So see, this add-in is already available. You can see this is already available on my on my screen. I've already installed it for you. So similarly, the way you install WhatsApp, Instagram, Book My Show, Skyscanner, Zomato, Swiggy, Uber, Ola, all those apps. Similarly, you can install various apps into your Excel universe. So I've installed this ChatGPT for Excel. Correct. And we don't understand how Uber algorithm works, but still we use Uber. So similarly, we will be using the same logic. Correct. Now I'm giving an open $1,000 challenge to everyone. Is that use whatever Excel formula you want to use, right? Open $1,000 challenge. If you can tell me an Excel formula which can extract names from this, extract names. So let's say this is a data dump of a call transcript, and I want to extract names. So tell me an Excel formula which will help me extract names. Like open $1,000 challenge. If you can tell me any Excel formula to do this, I'll give you $1,000 challenge. Okay, Manoj, Control E is something which wouldn't help in this particular situation. So let's say I write Aisha. I write here Adrian. Boom. So flash fill is not going to give me the answer to this particular situation. Flash fill is not going to give me an answer because there is no pattern to it. There is no pattern to this particular data set, right? Now, since we have touched the topic of flash fill, let me just demonstrate the flash fill and then let me come back to this particular problem statement. So see here, as Manoj rightly said that let me just break a bit the flow of the session and let me just talk again. So these are the names of the employees which we had, and these are their email IDs which I am creating. So if you see the pattern, there is a pattern. There is a pattern which is name dot surname @ Hulu.com, right? Hulu is a fictional company. Hulu is a fictional company from a TV series called as Silicon Valley. So if you have not watched Silicon Valley, then I would urge you to set all your work aside and watch that wonderful TV series. It's one of my favorite TV series, Silicon Valley. If there is any Silicon Valley fan in the chat box, then do give a shout out about your favorite character. So there is a pattern here, name.surname @Hulu.com, right? So the pattern out here is name.surname @Hulu.com. Now that I can use a concept called as flash fill. So flash fill is kind of a machine learning algorithm where it sees a pattern and it replicates that particular pattern. So what I all have to do is I have to press the keyboard shortcut Control E. I go to the home tab, and in the home tab, I press something called as fill. And you can see all my email IDs are automatically filled. So this is the concept of flash fill in Excel, right? So you can use the concept of flash fill in Excel. Now here, do you know Priya? He's directly saying, I'm David Warner. He says, you can call me Adrian Monk. She says that my name is Aisha. Pleased to meet you. Right? This guy is talking in Hindi. Hame seedhe saadhe Akshay, right? This is an Hindi statement. How will you get the name from an Hindi statement? Excel wouldn't even understand what is Hindi, what is English, right? So are you understanding the problem statement here? Like here we use the concept of flash fill, right? But here we can't use the concept of flash fill because there is no pattern to the data set. So just wanted to know in the chat box, are you understanding and appreciating the benefit of flash fill? And are you understanding the problem statement of extracting the names? Like, yes, no, or maybe you can write your own explanation. That would help me. Shubham is saying yes, he is understanding what's the problem statement. Okay, cool. Okay, that's great. Just once. Cool. So everyone is saying that they are able to understand the problem statement. So perfect, perfect, cool. So now let me just go back to the problem statement. So see, no Excel formula is going to solve this particular problem statement because there is no pattern to it. Right? There is no pattern, there is no logic. But what we can solve this particular problem is we can solve this particular problem with the help of ChatGPT, with the help of Gemini, with the help of Copilot of Microsoft, right? So now, see, one option is that I simply go to ChatGPT and I can paste the output, right? I can do this job as well, or I can use an AI-based function. So let me just do that, AI.extract. See, so I'm using an AI.extract. I got this function to the add-in which I installed. Correct. And now what is the value which I want, right? I want a value which is called as name. Correct. And I say extract it from here, from the cell A30. It shows busy, but it shows that Mr. Amte is the name. Correct. Then I copy paste it down. Here it is not able to find the names. Okay, now let's do one thing. Let's give it another try. Let us tell it like, give me full names. Okay, it's not able to find full name. Let me just. So that's one of the problems with data AI is that it's not able to sometimes work well because it's kind of a black box. So, but still it should work. It is showing that Mr. Amte is the person's name. Okay. Okay, so in this particular situation, we are not able to get a particular answer. So let me just go and see if the add-in is like, running on the latest engine. So let me just go here and see if I'm able to get this particular answer through an add-in. So I have the model. Just go to troubleshoot. So I'm trying a different model now. So why it is not. Okay, in this particular case, I don't know why it is not working, but usually it works. But maybe like uh, my engine is not working properly well. So, but so there is one more feature here which is called as AI.translate. So this is the value which I want to give to my data set. And then the language which I want to translate is in English language, right? So, so it is now able to translate this particular statement into an English language, right? And then what I can do is then I can extract the name from it, like AI extract value. Uh, yeah, value is name, and this is the data set. Okay, so it's not able to find the data set. I don't know why it's not happening correctly at the moment. So apologies for the group of, but I think it's just the AI engine which is not able to pick up the names. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't do. But that is how you can use the benefit of AI in terms of like, understanding. So let's try another use case of this particular AI engine. Is that these are some reviews which I've got, right? So these are some reviews of different airlines which I've got. Now, one way for me to analyze this particular data is read the entire data and then summarize the data, right? But what if I can ask AI to do this for me, right? So what I can say is, what I can do is I can use AI.ask function and I can give it a prompt that, classify classify this data into a positive, negative, or neutral feedback. Correct. And then I just have to give it a value. So this is my first value. So it is showing my this feedback can be considered as negative. Correct. And just give me answer in one word. In one word. Then I've revised my prompt and I'm saying that this feedback is definitely negative. Now I'm copy pasting this answer below. And you can see now AI is given me these two feedbacks are positive. So let's read these two feedbacks. So here is saying, dear Indigo team, I appreciate your staff from Vishakhapatnam station as he gave me good service while booking a cargo. Thanks for your best service. So this is definitely a positive feedback and AI is able to classify you this. This is also saying that it's a positive feedback, right? And let's say the first feedback is negative. So it is saying that crew is pleasant, but the Excel seat at the front of the economy is smaller than a regular economy seat. Also, only 3 juices and water are free. No meals and no soft drink. So you can see that this person is kind of fed up. So that's why this is a negative feedback. So these are some interesting prompts which I can give you. See now, see the point of understanding the concept of AI within Excel is that you don't require the old school thinking. See, the old school thinking would be ki I have 10 feedbacks, so I have go through all the 10 feedbacks and I have to make a notes. Now, in a business setup, you would have 500 feedbacks. So if you want to analyze 500 feedbacks, you would have to hire an internal analyst. You have to make him read 500 feedbacks. And then he will classify them as positive, negative, and then you would have an average rating, like, based on the feedback, how did the person perform. Now, this whole process, an internal analyst will take 2 days to do this because he has to read it manually and then he has to classify. Of course, it would be better because human beings are better understanding what other human beings is trying to say. But this is another very smart and efficient way that I have a large language model. I have trained it on customer feedbacks. I have created an add-in, like, using OpenAI APIs, and this is an Excel add-in. And in just few minutes, I'm able to understand that how many of the feedbacks are positive and negative. So you can see out of 10, 3 feedbacks are negative and 7 feedbacks are positive. So that is the beauty of AI, particular function, no particular Excel logic, no particular tool is going to, solve this particular problem. Right. So that's the beauty of AI, where we can always use the concept of generative AI to solve this particular problem, right? So see, now my AI dot full stop is working. So I guess I had not put a full stop. So that's the reason it was not working. But now you can see my AI dot extract is also working. So what is my output which I've given? AI dot extract, give me names. So it is giving me Chinmay, Aisha, Adrian Monk, Akshay, and David Warner. Right? Now maybe I can tell it, give me full names. So it is giving me full name, Chinmay Amte, right? It is giving me Adrian Monk, Priya Kapoor, and David Warner. Aisha does not have mentioned a surname, so I just get Aisha, correct? And see here, I am Dr. Kapoor, please call me Priya. So Priya Kapoor is something which no Excel formula can do. Only generative AI can do. So which is this AI.extract function, which is solving this particular problem. Right? Earlier it was not working because maybe I didn't have put a full stop to the data set and maybe it was not able to interpret. But this is how you can solve the particular problem. And here it's not able to give you because it's in Hindi. So you can use a combination of function like, AI translate. So first you translate this data set into English, and then you can use this particular problem and maybe it gives us the right answer. So see, it is now giving us the right answer. Maybe I just tell him, give me names, not the entire statement. Just give me first name. Okay, in this particular case, it is maybe not able to get us the answer. But in many situations, it can help us, like, give us the answer. Oh, sorry. Just give me a minute. Yeah. So now I have translated the data set and now I'm extracting the information from it. So give me a name. See, now it is giving me Akshay. So what I did was I used AI.translate to translate it into English. And then I used AI.extract to give me the name. So it is now giving me the name from an Hindi statement, which is not possible in traditional Excel. Correct. So that's the whole idea of, like, using AI in our day-to-day life, where you can solve this particular types of business statements with the help of like, uh, different AI tools. I'll quickly walk you through this particular problem statement as well. So now these are the names of the sportsmen which I have, right? And as I told you, I want to talk about Power Query. So if I want to solve this particular problem in a different data set, like let's say I want to have this in this particular pattern, like, where I want the surname first, followed by a comma, and then the person's name, right? I want the data in this particular format. Now, to write an Excel formula, it's very consuming, it's very time taking. What I can do is I can use something called as Power Query in Excel. So I go from table range. Now this is a Power Query editor. I know I'm going fast, but again, this is a hands-on training. You just need to know what all can happen in Excel. I'm adding a column, custom column from examples, right? And now I'm giving some examples here. Correct. So I'm giving Jordan space Michael, correct? Ali space Muhammad. MUHAMMAD. And see, it is immediately able to detect a pattern. This is not flash fill, this is formula by example, right? And I click on OK. And then what I can say, I can just say close and load this data to me. Like, close and load this data to, I can specify a cell, maybe existing worksheet. You can put this particular data set into this particular table. And you can see my data has been transformed. Like I get the name and surname. So if I add more data set here, like let's say I add more people. So like let's say I add Anu's name, Anu Goyal, and let's say I add Kushal's name, Kushal Lodha. Correct. Now all I have to do is I have to go right click and do a refresh. And you can see Goyal Anu and Lodha Kushal. It is automatically there. So that's the beauty of working on Power Query in Excel. Now, this is something which is called as formula by example in Excel. So these are some new tools which are there, which can help you automate your data set. And the last function which I want to demonstrate, again, this is going to be very fast and very rough because in 1 hour webinar, I cannot cover how to do it, right? If you want us to understand how to do it, then we have some exciting announcements for you. So maybe I can request the admin to post those announcements or the links in the chat box. So participants can go through those links to understand, in case you want to join me or join us to understand how we can do all this analysis, or we can learn all these tips and tricks, or we can learn AI in Excel, or we can learn Power Query. Then, please go through the links. We will also talk in detail about those particular, announcements and offers which we have. But I'll just cover this final topic and then just let you know what's the whole concept of Lambda within Excel, right? So the concept of Lambda. So Lambda is a new function in Excel, and it is something called as Excel's own function, right? So what is VLOOKUP, right? VLOOKUP is a function which is made by it's made by Microsoft, right? Engineers have coded it. Like let me walk you through some ifs, right? Some ifs, people have coded some ifs, engineers have coded some ifs. I don't know how some ifs works. But now what I want to do is I want to create my own functions and I want to use them again and again, again and again, so that I can do a faster analysis and I would do less mistakes. Correct. So these are the two business use cases: faster analysis, and second is less mistakes. Now, all of you are from a CA background, most of you are chartered accountants as well. Most of you must be working in finance sector. So one usual problem statement we have is that, Chinmay, I want to extract a fiscal year. Like now, if you are from an Indian background, you know that our company's year end in March, right? And then we have April to March as a financial year, right? Now in Excel, there is something called as an year function, right? You want to extract the year, you can extract year. So year is 2024. But if I tell you that extract a fiscal year, then it's not possible, right? How would you extract a fiscal year? Because there is no fiscal year function in Excel. So any suggestions, any thoughts, how would you extract a fiscal year in this particular data set? Like you want to know whether the transactions which happened on 11th March 2024, whether it would fall in the fiscal year FY 2024 or it would fall in the FY year FY 2025. Like let's say if I change this to May, then it falls in the FY year 2025. So anyone with any logics, any suggestions on how we can solve this particular problem? Very easy and very simple business question which I'm asking. You just need to tell me what are the logics. No, you don't require a pivot table. You just need to tell me whether this date falls in FY 24 or FY 25. You don't require a pivot table here. There is just one single cell, correct? Yeah, but how do you define it's FY 24, right? Excel cannot understand what's going on in your mind. So how do you define it? So here we use the traditional Excel formulas. So I've done nothing fancy. I've just said that if month is greater than this, then use the year plus one, otherwise use year. This is simple logic, right? This is a simple statement. But what happens with this particular formula is that to use this formula again and again, uh, you have to write this logic again. If there is an intern in your team, analyst in the team, he won't understand this particular formula. Then you again have to sit down and explain. And it can happen that while writing this particular formula, maybe instead of greater than, you someday write greater than and equal to, and your logic goes for a toss. Right? So these are the two problem statements which we face. One is that you have to learn formulas and you have to explain, and it spends time. So if you want to do faster analysis and you want to do less mistakes, because it can happen that you can make this mistake again and again. So there is something called as advanced formula editor, and there is something called as Lambda function. So you go to the home tab, there is something called as Excel Labs, right? And in the Excel Labs, I can use a function feature gallery, and I can go and use this my advanced Excel editor, right? So first it helps me break down the formula, and then it helps me create a Lambda formula. So what I've done through this advanced editor is that I have created a formula for myself, which I call it a fiscal year formula. Correct. So how this formula works is equal to fiscal year. Now this formula is not there in Excel. I have myself made this particular formula. So fiscal ending month is March. So it's third month, and this is the date. And I press enter and I get the answer. Correct. So if I change this to 11th May, then it shows that 2025 is my fiscal year. So logic is this, and using advanced formula editor, I've created a Lambda for me. So going forward, I don't have to write this formula again and again. This is not required. This particular topic logic is not required. I just need to use this particular formula again. This is my own custom made formula fiscal year. I have own defined it. And how I do it, how I performed it, I use this Excel Labs added. Very complex topic, very difficult to learn. But if you give me a couple of hours, on some days, then of course we can learn about these topics in detail. So the whole idea of this particular webinar was to show you what are the different resources available, what are the different uh, topics which you can learn within the Excel universe. So these were the few topics which I wanted to present, which I wanted to discuss with you. Now I open the forum for all the questions. If you have any queries, if you have any doubts, then more than happy to take your doubts and queries. Just before that, I would just share my browser, and I would just wanted to present a couple of things. So Anu has posted the link in the chat for you. I hope my browser is visible. So
Yes.
they will share more details about the webinar. But in case, just suggestion from my end as a trainer or as a consultant, is that whatever we demonstrated today, whether it's Lambda, whether it's dynamic arrays, whether it's Power Query, whether it's AI-based function. So we are making a detailed webinar, detailed, you can say workshop online meeting where we would be conducting a detailed 8-hour workshops, and I would be demonstrating all these detailed modules to you, right? So whatever I demonstrated, it was just tip of the iceberg. So a lot of topics are there, but for that I require your time, right? I want you to sit with me for 4 hours, 8 hours. I want you to practice on your own, share your feedbacks. So we are launching this particular Advanced Excel for Professionals webinar. So in case you are interested, so team Anu, FintEdu, Anu is there. She can guide you. And also we have a recorded program, from the KAGR club. So if you go to the KAGR's website, so we have already recorded a program and it's available on the website. So in case you want to go for the recorded modules, in case you don't have time to attend the live webinar, so you can look at the recorded modules also available on your website. So with that, I would call it a day for, I would end my presentation here. I am in the meeting room in case you have any doubts, any queries. More than happy to answer them. And Team KAGR and Team FintEdu is also available. In case you have any doubts and you want to ask anything more.